What's up, good people of the internet? Mark with Kardavox Academy here, and today we're doing something cool. I say that all the time because we're always doing cool stuff here on the channel. See how that works? We are going to be checking out Carcosa, Nihilus. I just want to know how you all pronounce it in the chat or in the comments below, because everyone I know says this word differently. I cling on to Nihilus, like Darth Nihilus, right? But we're going to be checking out Carcosa, Nihilus, and I've actually got Johnny here with me now. This is kind of a cool format. We call it a co-reaction because we get the vocalist here with us to talk with us about the song. We talk vocal technique, we talk composition, a lot of cool stuff. And this is actually the second one that I've done with Johnny. We did one for Vermin close to a year ago, and it was a lot of fun. So we're going to see what we can learn today. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I am a vocalist myself in a metal band called Kardashev. We released an album via Metal Blade Records back in June. Check it out. It doesn't sound anything like this, but you might like it. I do some of the screaming stuff. And I am a vocal coach specializing in harsh vocals, teaching people how to make all these gurgly, guttural, nasty sounds. If you enjoy the content, like, share, subscribe. It means a lot to this dude to watch the channel grow. And if you really love our content, we have a Patreon. Most of our Patreon activities exist on our Discord channel, where we have listening parties and karaoke events, and we all troll each other, and it's just a lovely time. So feel free to check it out. But more than anything, I appreciate your time in watching the video. Now this I have zero context on past the thumbnail, because I knew that when a new Carcosa song came out, I was like, yeah, it'd be fun to have Johnny on the channel again. So I really don't know at all what I'm getting into. Looks a bit memey from the thumbnail, but let's go ahead. Let's bring Johnny in. Johnny, what's up, dude? How you doing?
Yo, I'm back. What's up?
Not much, dude. Just chilling. It's been I'm not gonna lie. It's been a long day. So I'm excited to just hang, relax, talk some vocals, listen to some music, and overall have a good time. Now, this video, let me double check here. It's been out for a little while, over a month. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. How's it's got some pretty good views. How's the overall reception gone? How's post music video? Because this one looks like it's a little bit different than your other videos tonally. How's the reception been?
It's been great, honestly. I'm trying to get used to writing singles where they don't have like an overarching full narrative. Because in the past Carcosa stuff, there's always kind of been a story or a theme or something. So I picked a specific theme for what the song was about, and I was hoping that people would pick up on it, and I think some people have. It's in the title of the song, but the video is not the same as the lyrics. It's very different tonally. This is like the first funny video we've ever done. Because all of our other videos have been very, very, very serious for the most part, or traditional band videos, we'll say, right? And Andrew was very, very bent on doing a funny video, but we were just trying to figure out a way to make that work. And we decided on this concept, which you're going to see, and people have been liking it. It's been very interactive because people want to watch the video and figure out what's going on. That will make sense when we watch it. And yeah, it's been cool. I'm glad people are watching the video and enjoying themselves and having a good time, and I guess not just being sad as they normally are when they watch our stuff.
Yeah.
So it's been fun, man. It's been good. It seems like people like it, and that's great.
Yeah, that's a really important thing. Now, this kind of makes sense to me though, and I remember when seeing the thumbnail and thinking hey, this looks kind of memey. I kind of remember thinking with all the stuff they do on TikTok and the pickup lines and metal vocals and things like this, I was I'm kind of surprised they haven't gone the meme route for a music video already. So when I saw it, I was like, this totally tracks. This totally makes sense. So I'm excited to see it. Now, as always, do you want to give me any context for the video, or am I going in full on blind here?
I think for the video, you need to go in full on blind, because I can't describe everything. There's way too much shit going on.
Okay.
There's so much. I can give you context for the lyrics of the song if you like.
Yeah, go for it. Nobody ever does. So this will be wonderful. This will be great. Yes, please do.
Nobody ever does?
Everybody's always like, yeah, you got to figure it out for yourself. And I'm like, Damn it. Although realistically, if I was in your chair, I might do the same thing. But you already said it. You already said you give me some context. So yeah, tell me a little bit about the song content, the lyrics, what it's all about.
Yeah, well, dude, this one's cut and dry. I wrote this song about Star Wars, like straight up. Like the title is, you said it in your intro, it's Darth Nihilus. I wrote the entire song about Darth Nihilus. That's like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do because he's one of my favorite Star Wars characters in general.
Yeah.
And I loved KOTOR too.
Oh
and
yeah.
he's such a badass guy, man. He's like, he's barely even like a human. He doesn't really have much of a human form. All he does, he's called the Lord of Hunger. He just consumes and drains life from planets, and that feeds his existence. That's the fucking most metal thing ever.
Yeah.
Like,
isn't he a force ghost that's like attached to that mask? Isn't that the thing? Okay, cool.
Yeah, he resides within the robes that like presents a physical form, but he's more of like a dark entity, if anything. And everything I said is what metal is about, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, I didn't tell any of the boys what the song was going to be about when I wrote it, because I write stuff on the fly. That's always how I work.
Yeah.
So I just was listening to this song, and I was like, you know what, man? I'm going to write this song about Star Wars. And then I did, and then I sent it to the guys, and they liked it. And then afterwards, I was like, this song's about Star Wars. So...
Dude. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I've never like written a song about like a media piece that I like. But I will hide Easter eggs. Like in our most recent album, there are like Final Fantasy Easter eggs and Star Trek Easter eggs. And I always tell people after, because I don't want them to like shoot it down. And I'm like, haha, snuck it through. Okay, cool. Well, I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about it because I've been rewatching the Star Wars movies with my wife recently, so I'm kind of keyed back into the Star Wars mindset.
Nice.
Yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's jump into it. Let's check out Carcosa, Nihilus. Let's go. Okay, we're gonna pause it there. Jeez.
All right.
This is amazing. Like I already love this video. And I'm gonna tell you a couple things. So first of all, if I was to introduce somebody to Carcosa, and I don't care if you disagree, this might be the song I show them already, because that movement from your clean voice, which sounded great, like, you know, that like nice full voice projected singing that you were doing that was pushed back and like verbed out into those like insanely high, thin, not thin as in bad, but thin as in like piercing, like that papery sound, screams is nuts. What a cool transition. So just compositionally, I think this is if somebody's like, oh yeah, I've heard Carcosa, I've never really heard their music before, what's a good place for me to start? I might say Nihilus because that was a really cool transition. And I think I've already spied Mortal Kombat, Halo, Mario Kart, of course, Tony Hawk, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but so far this music video is dope, dude. This is crazy.
Oh, dude, this is, yeah, it gets crazier. Yeah, so I think you're mostly right. I don't know. I don't think we have any Halo reference. I think what you're thinking of is Doom.
Oh, yeah,
Andrew
Doom.
has a Doom helmet. The very first clip is from Fast and the Furious.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right.
It's from Fast 7, I think. I can't remember which one it is. I initially wanted that clip to be at the end of the music video because I thought it would be a good way to end it, but our director Patrick put it at the beginning, and I thought it was a great idea. But thank you about the vocal things. That's very nice. I was really bent on doing like a Gregorian kind of like chant thing in this song. I really wanted to build a choir out of myself. So in this track, I think for all of the clean vocals that you'll hear, I have like 12 layers of vocals going on, almost 12. So
Woof.
I have like really, really low baritone stuff, which I can't sing, by the way. What I did to do the baritone stuff is I basically just sang one note. I was just like Bene vide vice, like I just sang it straight through.
Yeah.
And then I went into Melodyne and I moved everything by hand. So I just chopped the parts and moved it to the notes that I wanted them, because I can't reach those in my range. I'm not naturally a baritone, but I wanted that baritone sound without doing it.
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember if it was in the video we did for Vermin, but I remember we've talked about your range a little bit. What notes were you kind of flirting with down there that were a little bit difficult for you? Do you remember like what they were specifically?
Trying to remember what the key signature of this song is. I think we mostly kind of chill around like B minor or something like that. So it's definitely like a low B to B flat around that range. So just out of my range. I can do the B, but it gets a little bit muddy when we get to B flat.
Interesting. I think we don't have to do it right now, but I think, we've talked a lot about harsh vocals, but I think I could probably get you singing some lower notes, probably because your speaking voice has a very warm resonance to it, and it sits about in the same place as mine. Now, obviously, a speaking voice isn't always a determinant, what determines where a person's range is going to be. But I bet,
right.
I bet if again, we're not gonna do it now because it'll take way too long. It might be a fun video, I don't know. But I bet you could actually sing at least some of those notes a little bit more comfortably.
Yeah, get me there, baby.
Yeah, maybe not, but it'd be fun to just kind of f around with it. So before we get into the song, I have two things I want to ask you about, or any farther into the song. The first is, this is just to kind of set us up for the whole song in general. So I remember in Vermin, we had basically a really good buffet of a lot of different techniques, and I might be wrong. I'm anticipating we're going to see that as well, because we're already hearing highs, we're already hearing singing. Do you feel like since that's the last video you and I did, you've evolved in any way as a singer, or are you trying to put anything new in here that I should keep a lookout for, or are you kind of sort of staying in the pocket? Because sometimes, I have totally done this where you're like, this song is kind of crazy, I'm going to play it close to the chest. And then I've had other songs where I'm like, I'm going to get experimental as heck and try all these new different things. What are some ways that you've kind of done that? Are you playing it close, or do you do anything kind of weird, or have you learned any new techniques in the time being? That was a really wordy question, so let me know if it makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. Yeah, I would say I kind of do a similar thing in this song like I did to Vermin, where I'm doing almost everything I think I'm capable of doing well. So this song, though, I definitely did more cleans than people might have expected.
Really?
But not in the way that's like a traditional metalcore thing where it's like a chorus or something like that. I did more of it in like a spooky way, we'll say. Because I've been listening to a lot of like video game OSTs and stuff. Specifically, this song called "Morning" off the Nier Automata soundtrack.
Oh,
which
is a good soundtrack.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So it's basically just like a really simple choir. I think it's like 4 dudes, 4 girls, and I really wanted to create that in this song.
Sure.
So definitely adding in more choir elements was a new thing that I wanted to do for this. I think as we go on, you'll hear some stuff, and you can tell me if it sounds any different than, what we talked about in Vermin. But I definitely do a lot more of the tunnel low stuff, that everybody is doing. But you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
But I love Adam Warren. He's one of my biggest influences, and I was basically just trying my very best to emulate what he does in a lot of my lows.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's pretty much what I do in Carcosa, which is shrill highs, lows, and there's mids in there too. So kind of like the same stuff I've been doing, but hopefully better.
So it's
You
gonna
know?
be dope. I get it. I hear what you're saying.
Who knows?
All right, cool. I wanted to talk about highs, but let's get a little bit more song. Get a little bit more song going, and then we can talk about that. So
Sure.
yeah, let's just pick it up from here. I'm excited to see this
Yeah.
stuff. All right, I'm already going to pause it again because that was sick. And I think that that's exactly what you're talking about. So
Right.
I would say, well, first of all, Squid Game. What an awesome show. Loved that show.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Excellent. Like the cookies.
Dude, Cooper made those cookies himself.
Did he really?
He did. Yeah, he learned how to make them and he made them.
See, I would have been lazy and I just would have gone and like bought a snickerdoodle and called it a day. You know what I mean?
That's what I thought, but he did it.
He did it. So I hear what you're saying. That was a really, really awesome layering of vocals, and I can only imagine that would be very difficult to do. Because I think one thing that people who aren't musicians don't really think about, which is totally fine. Like, I'm not a chef, so there's a lot of stuff with cooking that I don't think about and appreciate. It's just normal. But is that when you're going to be layering a lot of vocals, you have to think about how this layer, well, you don't have to, but you should, and you can always tell when they don't. You have to think about how each layer is going to kind of interact with each other as well as the other instruments. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little surprised that the choir plus like the lower midtones and the highs all worked together and there wasn't anything like dissonant or not really gelling. How hard was that?
Yeah, nothing is rubbing against each other, right?
Yeah. How hard was that to do? Because I'll be real, for me, like, it would be kind of tricky. It would take me some time, like really sitting down with a keyboard, thinking about the song, making it happen. How tough was that?
It was and it wasn't. I think like this might be like a subconscious thing with me, but since the choir was essentially the first thing that was written for that part, I might have like accidentally matched my tones vocally with the choir so that it doesn't sound like it's rubbing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like if our note is I was probably going so there's like at least in the overtones it's there. So it doesn't sound like there's too much dissonance going on. There's also enough of a melodic structure happening with the instrumentals that I think it's easy to bury that stuff even if it does sound like it might contradict what's happening.
Sure.
I think like there's so much heavy melody happening that you won't be able to tell, you know?
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
I do think I might have subconsciously maybe done something along the lines of like a pitch scream, but I don't know.
It's possible. I mean, if you ever are like super curious, you could go like dig through the stems, but you know, if you wanted to. But yeah, it really worked nicely. I'm actually going to go back just so that people who watch this video can kind of now listen for that a little bit more accurately and kind of think about there's a lot of complexity going on that maybe sometimes people don't really think about. So let's go back to Andrew doing the stupid cookie licking. We'll get that in. All right, here we go. Yeah. So, Jesus Christ. Lots of really cool things. Lots of really cool things to talk about. Holy cannoli. So, one thing I really like about that section, I keep saying in my head, we're going to talk about like actual tone, but then I hear something else I want to talk about. One thing I really like about that section is it would have been really easy. It would have been really easy to just kind of hold out like long droning, like ba, 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 over the tones. But when you got to your highs, and this is kind of, I think like a signature, there was like this really fast, really like hop skipping sort of high tone over the top. I'd have to listen to it again, because I don't have the pattern memorized. But this really fast, rapid fire, yet also reserved. Pull back, pull back, which sounded really cool. What what method do you normally use? Because this is always something I'm interested in is the way people write their vocals. How do you kind of go about it? Do you just like sequester yourself in a dark room? Do you get like I know that you have like, you went to school for music, so you've got a lot of theory under your belt. Do you have more of like a analytical approach? What's the way that you generally kind of like write patterns? We might have talked about it in the Vermin video, but I don't remember. So we're going to talk about it now.
We did, but it's a different application for this song. So basically what I wanted to do for this as compared to Vermin was, I was going to do a fast, spitty part probably anyways, but I didn't want it to be just like straight 16th notes where it's just like ba 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 ba. I didn't want to do that because I kind of already did that. I did it twice. I did it in a Plague and I did it in Vermin. So I was like, I need to play with rhythm a bit more. I need to do something that's like maybe a little bit more interesting rhythmically.
Sure.
And in terms of like a theory approach, when I write, music, because I obviously helped co-write the instrumentals of this song as well, I never really think about theory at all when I'm writing. I always take a feel approach. So it was very much the same way with the vocals. It was basically like, I want to do a call and response. I want to play with the guitars. I don't want to do exactly what they're doing. That's like what we used to do in our old band Galactic Pegasus, which would be considered a gent band, is you match every single guitar hit, and I don't want to do that.
Right.
So I basically tried to fight against it a bit. Play with the rhythm, do a little bit more syncopation, go back and forth,
Sure.
Born in the purest of lights, made darker by the cold dark nights, like just having like a little bit more fun with it,
Yeah.
So yeah, whenever I approach those parts, I'm always just kind of like, how different can I be without like doing some crazy like metric modulation or some shit, I need people to still like feel the pulse, but I don't want them to like feel like they're listening to animals as leaders, but vocals.
Yeah. That's tough. That's tough to kind of balance out. Obviously with the music we write, it doesn't really happen a lot. But that can be kind of tough as well. And when you kind of spoke that pattern there, it had almost like kind of like a hip hop vibe. Now I know that you are you enjoy rap and hip hop. Did any of that inspire you for this? Because it kind of sounds like it the way that you spoke it, or is it just kind of how it works out?
Yeah, for sure. I would say it's definitely an influence. I've mentioned this before as well, but when I'm writing metal music at all, even vocally, instrumentally, I always try and listen to everything but metal to try and draw inspiration that might create a unique sound. So like I listen to a lot of Denzel Curry.
Yeah.
And I listen to a lot of Aesop Rock. Those guys are really crazy with rhythm, or like Kendrick Lamar, who really plays with rhythm. I like guys like that a lot. So that would definitely be like a primary influence when I'm trying to write crazy pattern stuff, I would say, for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Another one who I love is Toby Nwigwe. I'm sure I said his last name wrong, but I tried my best.
Yes.
One thing I like about him is like he's got cool patterns, like for sure. But I love that like how he'll use all of these different voicings in one song. Like he'll do like this sort of like gritty shrieking, and then he'll do something more traditional, and then he'll like talk with like sort of like a breathier voice. Like he just goes through all these different voicings, and I think that there is. We don't have to get too into the weeds with it, but I think that there's so much inspiration for metal, potentially even especially deathcore, that could be found in rap and hip hop. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'll never write lyrics as good as they do. It won't happen. Like,
oh no,
they're
literally popoets, man.
Yeah,
they're poets.
It won't happen at all.
But yeah, I found that guy hanging out in the Discord.
Denzel Curry?
Yeah, because what's his name?
Toby Nwigwe. Yeah.
During one of the hangouts. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, he's really good. Well, let's talk tone. Let's talk tone a little bit. Because you did just kind of like a casual mid, and it sounded awesome. One thing that I do quite remember us talking about, but this may be the first video with you that people see. I would love to hear that sort of mid-tone again, and I'd love for you to describe what it feels like. As in as many or as few terms as you'd like, because that's as a vocal teacher, that's one of the biggest questions or most common questions I get is, what should a healthy scream feel like? Now, sometimes I ask people this and they describe the way it feels, and in the back of my head, I'm like, oh,
Right.
you know. But
Yeah.
we've talked vocals before, so you know, I know that your technique's really good.
Mhm.
So if you feel up to it, you never are on the spot. You never have to do vocals, but if you feel up to it,
Mhm.
I'd love to hear that mid tone again, and then just kind of hear from you what it feels like. What is the experience of creating that distortion?
Right. So, my mid-tone is very comfortable for me. Like, this is like, it feels like almost nothing. It feels very similar to talking. Like, I
Mhm.
don't have to project that much. I don't have to push very hard. Like, I'm sitting down. Normally, when I do vocals, obviously, I stand up. That's
Right.
where I get a lot of my power and projection from.
Mm.
But for my mids, I can just do this, and it's super comfortable. You know, like, I don't really feel any strain at all. It's obviously Fry. Like, it's definitely based here. It's not coming, you know, it's not a false chord thing. It's all Fry for me.
Yep.
But when we get into obviously doing like my lows that kind of happen in this verse that we were talking about, it does dip its toes more into like the false chord world, maybe, or it's tunnels. So you know what already comes with that territory,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Sure.
But
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please continue.
no, it's all good. Yeah, like I was just trying to think of just doing the part, but it's like masqueraded in droves of black, woven by the aura of all that beckons me to where it all began. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like a blend of things moving into other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. To me, it sounds a lot like all of that was essentially the same technique, but modulated differently, utilizing mouth shape and vowels and vowel formants and things like that.
Right.
My scream is, you know, for anybody watching, very, very different. But I do kind of the same thing. Like if I was to do like a mid, it would be and if I pull that into a low, it's the same technique, the same distortion. Right. And it's really just mouth shape and vowel.
Right.
I want to ask you this. When adding Fry vocals, especially the ones that you did there, which sounded awesome, because it's an airier sound, do you find it difficult? Because, you know, I don't do a lot of Fry screams myself, so legitimately I have no idea. Do you find it difficult to have it like cut through all of like the heavy music that's there, or does it sit pretty nicely? Because I know with my high vocals, sometimes if I'm doing a more airy tone, sometimes it needs a little bit of a boost or maybe an additional layer to really have it like sit on the mix nicely. Is that something that you run into as far as like layering them out and everything, or is it like, nah, I just lay a track down and it sounds awesome? You know what I mean?
That's a really good question, because I've never really thought of it in that way. And my experience with doing vocals might be different from how I see a lot of kids are doing vocals now. And I'm actually curious of what you think of this, because I have maybe a differing opinion.
Sure.
But a lot of kids do their vocals raw. Like they will practice their vocals in their car, in their bedroom, and they don't record. They don't use a microphone. They literally like will use their phone and they'll listen to them. But besides that, they're mostly hearing themselves from their own ears, right? That's how they practice, which is cool. I've never done that. I've always recorded myself. So I've always kind of been working with how do I make my recording setup benefit my vocals? Like, what can I do with EQ to make those fries sound way beefier than they do in person? Because, like, you know, when like this might be derogatory towards people who don't listen to metal, but you know when like normies ask you to do vocals?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, when people who don't listen to metal a day in their life, they ask you to do vocals. For you, it's different because you're more of a false chord guy. But for me, when I do fries, people are like, wow, that's way quieter than I thought, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's how loud I am. I use this microphone that I'm pointing at to help me, you know, project it louder. This is just the technique that works for me. So I think, like, for me, I think it's really important that, yes, practice obviously vocals, what you sound like in a room and like based on your ears. Cause like if you sound good like that, chances are you'll probably sound pretty damn good in a microphone as well. But I do recommend that people try recording themselves and working with a microphone, because if you're in a band and you're performing live and you're recording yourself, you're using a microphone. So you might as well work with it. You might as well find out what EQ works best for you, what plugins work best for you. you know, what microphone works best for you. I think like that's like a really good place to work on your vocals and figure out what works best for your technique. Because for me, this is what made it sound better. Because like I know it's discouraging for a lot of people who maybe they don't know that they're a fry vocalist, but they do fry technique. And they're like, damn, I'm quiet. Like, why aren't I as loud as Alex Terrible? Like, why can't I be like that? And they might find it very discouraging, right?
Mm-hmm.
But little do most people know that there's a lot of people that are fry. You know, like it's like Tom Barber from Chelsea Grin is definitely a fry guy, but people are probably like, oh, he's fucking false chord, he's loud. But realistically, a lot of us aren't that loud.
Yeah, that's totally true. That's totally true. And a really good example of a vocalist who is not as loud in person as you would think is Joe from Fit for an Autopsy, Joe Bad.
Yeah.
He sounds amazing. He sounds amazing. But like I've been in the same room with him as he does vocals, and it sounds great, but it sounds more like a projected, really airy, raspy speaking voice. And that is true. That is something that I've noticed about, you know, over the many years of doing this. That is something I've noticed about fry sounds. Okay, I have to be careful how I say this. It seems like it is not uncommon for fry sounds to have a little bit of transformation of sound when it goes from raw in a living room to like produced in a studio setting versus like, you know, some false chord techniques. However, I also don't want that to make people get the idea that means that fry vocals are, because you know how people are, that get the idea that fry vocals are somehow fake, because that's not true. Like, for example, on our recent album, I did a lot of like really light, soft falsetto. Well, how's that going to cut across like, you know, we had to layer that. We had to put some exciters on there. We had to boost, right?
Of course.
And that's really interesting that you built your technique kind of in a way for the studio, especially since I have talked to people who do that, and then they tell me that they have a hard time live, but you kill it live. So that's really fascinating to me. Yeah, that actually gives me a lot to chew on. I definitely agree with you that recording yourself is really important, because hearing the way that your voice interacts with a recording setup versus the way that it bounces off the walls in your car can make a pretty significant difference.
For sure.
Yeah, so I definitely encourage. And the thing about it is, a lot of times people, they think like, oh man, I could never afford a recording setup. Not counting the microphone, right? Which we had, but I used this microphone for a lot. Most of like our albums were recorded on less than $200 worth of vocal gear, honestly.
Yeah. You don't need much, dude. Like really, like
no.
I mean, I think I've said this before for sure, but like my first microphone I ever used was a Rock Band USB mic. Like essentially it's whatever gets the job done. Right? Yeah. Like after that, the next microphone I ended up using is like this Shure here I'm holding up to the camera. It's a 58. It's a very, very standard microphone. It's an industry standard. And like you make it work and you realize what works best for you. The reason why a lot of people use the SM7B is because it has a low gain output, and it's perfect for screaming vocals because you're loud as shit. And this microphone can handle that because it has a low gain output, as opposed to like a 58 is good live because it has a higher gain output, and then you don't have to work as hard to project and push for someone like me who's a fry guy. You know, like you're working with microphones, like I said before.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And I guess I do have to make a correction to what I said. Technically, it was more because I was using a guitar setup, like a rig, like a rack that was built for guitar, but I was like kind of using the interface and everything. But you could do it with like a Focusrite solo, you know, for
sure.
For nothing.
You definitely can.
Okay, cool. We got off on a little bit of a tangent, but it was a very fun tangent. That was a lot of cool information. Let's do a little bit more song, and then we'll talk more vocal technique. But I can definitely tell you that this, like, I've listened to maybe not everything, but a lot of just Carcosa material. This might be up there. This might be up. I'm not just saying that because you're on the call. Like this one might be up there. It's one of the songs that I actually like top 5 for you guys. So far, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Let's keep going. Ugh. Okay, we're gonna pause it there. It's a terrible place to pause, but it's a good face, and I already have stuff I want to talk about. So I'm kicking myself because I saw the beanie, and it's an Angel Maker. I think I've got an Angel Maker and a Carcosa one, but I was also gonna have my Dungeon Dudes mug, the Live Laugh Love mug, but I forgot it.
Oh no!
I know I have it. It's out there. I was gonna be drinking from it, but whatever. Okay, so there are two things I want to talk about. I keep wanting to talk about high vocals, and then I forget. So we're gonna start there.
Okay.
One thing I really like about your high vocals is how consistent and how like shrieky they are, right? Because me using, I don't know, I've got a lot of thoughts about high vocals, and we're not going to get into them now. That's not the purpose of this video. But like with me, I'm very, very happy with my high tone, but sometimes it's hard for me to get that like shrieking, like almost like Nazgul sound that you get from more fry focused high vocals. So talk to me a little bit about those highs. I don't know how loud they are compared to your mids, but if you want to do one and kind of do what we did before, do one and then talk about the way that it feels, that would be awesome. That'd be a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah. So my highs are definitely the highest thing I have in my range in terms of volume.
Okay.
My highs are definitely louder. What part of the song are we on here?
2 minutes and 3 seconds.
Yeah. Was pure unbridled sacrilege, while the wise were stripped away.
Yeah.
So everything is it's. I think it's basically the same thing you were talking about, where a lot of it is based in the same place. I'm using a lot of mouth shapes and tongue manipulation to get to where I am. But I also kind of, every time I do highs, I always think about the Melissa Cross technique, the over the pencil technique.
Oh yeah.
You familiar with that?
Yeah.
Because like every time I think about it, I'm thinking about pushing the air over my tongue. Every time I do highs, because my tongue is in that kind of shape where it's in a curved arch in a way. I know you can't see me right now, but yeah, like my tongue when I do highs, the tip of my tongue is pointing up. So I always think about pushing over the tip of my tongue every time I do highs. So I'm trying to direct my projection, I guess. Whether it's actually doing something or not.
Oh man, well, we can definitely hear that it's doing something. The tip of your tongue is up, really? Huh. That's fascinating. Yeah. When I do it, the tip of my tongue is down. Well, let me
really.
Try. Let me try, because like maybe I'm fucking crazy. Yeah. So what I do? Well, let's talk about yours first. So the tip of your tongue is up. What was that? Something that was just kind of like accidental? You ran into it, or is that something you've purposefully developed over time?
I think it was accidental, because like, I mean, I told you this in the last video too. For the most part, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I'm kind of just doing whatever I want. Like, I'm doing whatever it takes to get to where I want to be. So, whenever I do highs, it feels very I feel like I always set it up for very Elizabethan, weird, fucking like goblin-esque talking vocals. So like, when I'm like that, I think about my tongue going upwards for some fucking reason. Like, I don't know why.
Sure.
But when I do that, it just goes in that direction. But I feel like it's the same thing to what you're doing, because your tongue, if it's pointing down, you're wanting to push over top of your tongue anyways, right? So it's kind of a similar thing, just different technique, I guess.
It's a different tongue placement for sure. The reason... And like the difference between like my tongue down and your tongue up, it's not like you're doing it wrong or anything. This is actually one of my favorite things about metal vocals is like I've mentioned this before, but I have 2 rules for metal vocals. 1, you're safe. 2, you sound dope. And 2.5 is you're the one who gets to decide if you sound dope. That's it, right? So like you can play with all the, like I am in full support of the fact that for you, vocals are a very like explorative thing. For some people who aren't they're still learning. They're not very in tune with their voice. I'm a little hesitant. I'm a lot more about like, okay, this is the right way and the wrong way. But like all my students, I say like, listen, all these things I'm teaching you are just a launch pad. Once you get really comfortable with your voice, you can experiment like crazy. Yeah, the tongue up, the tip. Well, let me ask you this. Where's kind of the back of your tongue sitting? Because it sounds like this is where we're similar. What I do is one thing I do to warm up into my high vocals is I'll just hold an eval, e, then I lift that up, e, yay. The reason I do that is because when my tongue is in this E position, E, the pharynx is actually pretty open. The tongue is out and forward, and the pharynx, which is that space in the back of the mouth, down into the top of the throat and up into where your mouth and your the back of your nasopharynx, oropharynx, hypopharynx. Those are the three places. It's very open because your tongue is up and out of there. So there's a lot of room for things to sort of rattle around. And even with like my lows and stuff, up forward tongue is really valuable. So talk to me about where you kind of feel the back of your tongue. Is it arched up as well? Or is it like sitting down and flat? It sounds arched up, but we'll find out.
I think it's similar to what you're saying. So the back of my tongue is more touching the top of the back of my teeth.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's basically the same thing. My tongue is just doing different shit for the most part. Yeah.
I would not go as far as to say we do our highs the same, but I feel like our highs sound more like you and I, our highs sound a lot like our mids and lows sound way different. But I feel like our highs are a little bit more similar. Yours are a little bit more like airflow, and mine are a bit more airflow.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that I really wanted to touch on is the low tones are awesome. And one misconception that I hear a lot, because in a lot of my lessons, I just kind of how it works is most of the people I teach are brand spanking new. I don't really know why it works out that way, but I get like 2 or 3 more advanced students every couple of weeks, but most people are brand new. And one of the most interesting misconceptions I hear is that fry vocals are high, false chord vocals are low. But you're taking and like you and I know that that's just not true. You're taking your fry and you are sending them to like the pit of hell.
Right.
What sort of things do you find yourself doing, right, to get that fry tone nice and low, really cavernous and big? What sort of things are you doing?
I think a lot of it is like I say this a lot. I think a lot of it is basically just mouth shape. And I think for my lows, and I'll do some in a sec, but like my lows, my jaw moves in a different direction than obviously it would with highs. But a lot of that is also based around vowel shapes. Your mouth and your jaw are going to move in different directions when you're doing different vowels.
Yeah.
But like in the part that we just listened to, it's like unsuspecting fools knew not what was coming for them. So my jaw is a lot tighter and it feels a lot wider. Like I feel like my jaw is fanning out as opposed to my highs where it feels like my jaw is going up and it feels sharper. But my lows, I feel like I'm physically kind of like moving my body to a tone to these tones, which I don't know if that's a kosher thing necessarily. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing to do, because I might have recalled, that for a false chord, you don't really want to do that. Like, you don't want to sit lower in your larynx. Like, you want to try and basically your source sound comes from the same place, but you manipulate it. Is that fair to say? Or
there's a little disagreement on here. I am of the mindset, and there are people totally do disagree with this sometimes. So I mean, it's not like an unpopular opinion, but there are some different areas of thought that I've just run into on my internet escapades. I am a firm believer that, especially with metal vocals, we should try to gain as much resonance and formant control as we can from the shape of our mouth and the shape of our pharyngeal, of our oropharynx, right? So like lifting the soft palate, opening up, opening those not palatopharyngeal, but there's another, I'm forgetting the term here. Just basically opening up the back of the mouth, right? And creating space with the tongue before we rely on our larynx. Now, sometimes that can lead people to think, oh, well, Mark says your larynx shouldn't move at all. No, it's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying I'm not a big fan. I actually, like, back in the day, I actually took singing lessons with a voice teacher, and she wanted me to, like, literally shove my larynx up as high as I could to reach high notes. And I was sore and it was uncomfortable. And in my opinion, it is a lot better to use your voice as naturally as possible. So
Right.
when I speak, like when I do high screams, of course my larynx is going up. When I do low screams, of course my larynx is going down. But it is a natural result of the movement versus that's how I'm driving the car. You know what I mean?
Right. Instead of forcing it.
Exactly. And this is what I hear you doing here as well, which is awesome. I had another question, but I don't remember what it was. So I guess we'll just listen to some more.
I'm sure
song.
we'll get to it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to it. I'm gonna go back a little bit, so because it sounds like we have a good transition here, and I want to be able to enjoy it. So let's go back. Let's go back to 150. That looks good.
Sure.
There you go. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I hear that like creepy chanting behind the breakdown there. Very Sith temple. Very, very Sith temple. Yeah, that was sick. I was listening for it because I was like, I know, well, not for that specifically, but I was like, I know we're gonna hear some of this chanting. Yeah, that was really cool. So I want to talk about that. But I remembered what I wanted to ask you. So first of all, super sick section. You know what that kind of reminded me of? You remember? I'm sure you've heard of Disfiguring the Goddess, of course.
Of course.
They had a song that I still love it to this day. What was it called? It doesn't matter. If I remember it, I'll put it in the description. But it sounded like there was this really creepy chanting in the background. It was like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And this has a really, really similar vibe. Although I think theirs was much more forward, and yours is creating a lot of like really eerie ambience that kind of like, I don't know, makes you feel a little bit on edge. Oh, we've got a Joker meme here. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
So in the Wolf of Wall Street thing, that's awesome.
Dude.
You even
I
did like the little
video's distracting.
Yeah, it is, dude. I'm not gonna lie, like because it's fun to watch. But so here's something I wanted to ask you. This is a question I really should ask people more when I have them on the channel. But what were some of the like mistakes you made when you were trying to learn vocals? Because I think you know we don't talk about that enough. Well, by me, I mean I.
Right.
You know, what are some of the mistakes you made? Because I made quite a few when I was learning this metal vocal thing. What were some of the hangups? What were some of the mistakes you ran into?
That's also a great question. It's something that I haven't really thought about because I tried experimenting and doing vocals for a really long time. I mean, I always tried to emulate other people. That was basically how I learned techniques unofficially. Was I tried to be like Phil Bozeman, and sometimes I think I probably shot over what I could actually do. And in doing that and trying to like do all these crazy sounds and not learn how I'm doing them or why they're sounding this way, I would end up burning my voice out or hurting myself, like trying to shoot lower than I can or go higher than I can. It's the same thing with like singing. If you're trying to sing a song that's out of your range and you keep pushing yourself to try and hit those notes, but you just can't do it, you're going to hurt yourself. It's the same thing as metal vocals. Like, because like I said, I'm not a false chord guy. So if I'm trying to do like Kublai Khan vocals without knowing how to do those, I'm going to hurt myself, man.
Yeah.
And that's basically when I was a kid, I would probably do that quite a bit. Like I can't remember like a specific instance, but I definitely probably tried to copy somebody and did it wrong and hurt myself. And I was like, wow, that sucked. I don't know why that happened. Oh, well, I'm going to keep doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. That's a really good question. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You know, for me, I've so I've never like damaged my vocal folds, but I've really caused myself some major vocal strain twice in my life. Uh
Mm-hmm.
the first time was when I was brand new. I was like I had been in Kardashev for like a month, and like they were like kind of like they all most of the guys in the original lineup were members of a band called Composer Meet Corpse, which was like a pretty big deal here locally. Um
Mm-hmm.
and like I really felt like I had to impress them. So in my mind, metal vocals were full bore all the time, nonstop craziness. And then the second time that I strained my voice was actually after I put up the Demolisher video here on the channel,
Mm.
because that video is what let me go to full-time vocal coaching. Before that, I was doing it just like, you know, a little bit on the weekend here and there, because I still had my job, my call center job. And I was just so excited to have all these students. I was doing like 8-9 lessons a day, 6 days a week. And my technique was fine, but the burden was just so god. It was crazy. So
Mm.
I strained my muscles pretty bad. And coming back from that was a very sobering experience. So for me, I would say the biggest mistake that I have run into was not respecting that my voice is an organic instrument that I only have one of.
Right.
You know what I mean? And not thinking like, okay, you know, how can I not treating the instrument with respect, basically. Treating it as very disposable, which it is absolutely not. And I like your correlation to clean singing, because you're right. Like if someone's like, you know, I don't know how to sing high notes, so I'm gonna go for that fifth octave. It's just like, whoa, like, okay,
Yeah, you're
hold
gonna
on.
hurt yourself, man.
Yeah, hold the phone, back off a little bit. Yeah, okay, cool. That's a great answer. I really like that answer, because I run into that a lot, and I think people need to hear it, that you know, you shouldn't push your boundaries too much, especially early on.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going here.
All right.
Yeah. Oh.
The song moves pretty quick.
The song does. Like I mean, okay, we've been at it for almost 55 minutes, so I guess that's the normal amount of time. But I feel like that came and went really quickly. There's a lot of stuff in there. I loved like the Joker into Spider-Man into like, dude, it was
Guitar Hero and yeah, dude, we tried to challenge people to name all the references in the video. Some people have gotten close. I can't remember if anyone's got it perfectly, but yeah, there's a lot.
Oh, there's no way I would. How hard was this video to make? I mean, I guess a lot of that would, just looking at the video, a lot of that would fall onto the editor. But like this is a lot more than just like, you know, my friend's garage was empty. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or like we went out into the woods, you know, outside Vancouver, and just kind of like headbanged this is a lot harder than like we were in top of a barn. So like, how hard was this to make? This looks like a crazy endeavor, man.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we essentially did the same thing as we did for Vermin. We worked with the same director. His name is Patrick Lawler. He is the best. He's a genius. But it was fully green screened, and luckily we have Andrew, who obviously is a full-time YouTuber. He has a very, very strong video background. Knows how to film with green screen, do all the proper lighting and stuff. So essentially, you can't see me right now, Mark, because of the whole Discord thing, but I have like shot lists here of all of the scenes that we chose to do.
Whoa.
And like how we needed to do the lighting and how we needed to do the angles and all this stuff. There's stuff in these sheets that didn't actually make the cut, But yeah, so we all kind of just picked our favorite, scenes from movies, video games, and television, and we framed all of our shots as if we were shooting them in like the actual movie. So like all of the correct angles. So like for Fast and the Furious, if I'm sitting down in a car and I'm looking across into another car, I'm gonna sit down like I'm in a car, and we're gonna film it from that angle, right?
Yeah.
So we did every shot like that, and it went pretty smooth. Like we had a pretty good pace, but we had like a lot. I don't even know how many scenes that we chose, but tons, so
Dude,
many. And then we
hundreds.
just threw, yeah, and then we just threw it at Patrick, and we were like, "Hey, man, here's all the reference material. Here's all these shots. Make it happen." And he did it, and he did a great job. This video we had no revisions on at all. The
Are you
first time we
serious?
saw it, the first time we saw it, we were like, great. The only revision that I had was, can my lightsaber be red? And essentially Patrick said, that'll be very hard for me to do. So I said, never mind, blue is fine. But yeah, it was obviously a lot of the work has to be credited to Andrew for filming it and framing all of the shots. And then a huge, shout out to Patrick for making the video happen. So
Yeah,
it was
seriously.
hard, but it wasn't hard on my end. I just had to perform, baby.
That's the best. That's that vocalist life. But I guess an angel maker, you have to do the guitar thing, so you gotta put in the work there.
Exactly.
Yeah, being a vocalist is awesome. We just yell, bro.
Yeah, I don't do anything.
Nah, dude. So here's the serious question for you. So like red lights, you're a red lightsaber guy, huh?
Big time. I've always been a Sith boy.
Oh,
I
so
love
like
the Sith.
So like when you play like Knights of the Old Republic or anything like that, where you can choose light side or dark side, you go for that Force lightning, huh?
So here's the thing, Mark, is I love the Sith. I love the lore. I love a lot of the Legends material of Star Wars. When I play KOTOR, I'm like, I'm gonna tell that fucking alien to shove it up his ass. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna kill that guy in cold blood. And then I get to him and he's like, help me. And I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, fine. I'm such a coward. I'm a badass Sith. Like, let's go. And then like people are like, can you help me find my alien dog? And I'm like, yeah, fine, I'll do that.
No, see, I don't think you're a coward. I think, okay, so I love Knights of the Old Republic. I love like all those like Star Wars games where you can pick like light side, dark side. I liked KOTOR 2 better than the first one, but I'm really excited for the remake that's coming out someday.
Yes.
But I think that the Sith, the dark side path was written really poorly in those games. Because when you look at like Sith lore, they're like I'm a Jedi guy myself. Like if I had a lightsaber, I'd go gold. That's like my go-to is like the gold lightsaber,
Yes.
or orange. But like you read about the Sith and they're like incorporeal beings attached to a mask, or they are. Like we could start with the first one we were ever introduced to, Darth Vader, who like, maybe some of the character arc was a little weak here and there, but overall a really cool character. But when you play KOTOR, you're just kind of like a whiny teenager. Like that's the dark side path that you're given. So I don't blame you. I don't blame you for not taking it.
Yeah.
Anyways, we could talk about Star Wars forever.
I definitely could.
You know way more. I like Star Wars, but you know way more about it than I do.
Big part of my life.
Huge. So one thing I want we're almost, I won't take up too much more of your time because I know it's late. And I haven't eaten dinner yet. I'm getting pretty hungry. But
Shit.
I forget to eat. It's a thing I do. I'm not, it's just you looking at me, you wouldn't think so. But it's crazy. Like my wife will come home, bro. My wife will come home and she'll be like, "Have you eaten today?" And I'm like, "Huh. It's been 14 hours. Whoops."
You know what? I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't.
You need Nico to bring you a cannoli.
Oh, bro. Yeah, or Stromboli, like you did at that show.
Yes.
So, at the beginning you said that you did the same thing but really well. I think technique-wise, I agree with you. Very strong, very, very strong. Awesome technique, sounded sick across the whole song. But I feel like compositionally, man, like I think me being outside of the Carcosa writing experience, I'm obviously not involved. I don't know. This whole song to me, especially like your composition with layering in the singing and putting like the weird chanting in the background and the way that you know, were like, I kind of need to do like different things rhythmically. I feel like this song, I feel like you did. I feel like you did really change a lot, but less in the technique department and more in the composition department. So I kind of disagree with you in a way. I think that this song sounds different vocally for that reason. That's just my take. But
Right.
it's a good
I
one.
appreciate that. I'll take that one. I'll take that one to the grave, because I'm always very like, I'm very bent on songwriting and composition. That's like my number one thing, is like the song has to be good from a compositional standpoint.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then it's not a good song. Like, it's like, what are we trying to get out of the song? What do we want to do with it? What's our direction, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so if that's the way you feel, then that's great. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And I hope that, you know, we're also maturing in our sound whilst also keeping the core of what Carcosa is always, but progressing, you know. That's always the thing, is I want us all to try and always one up ourselves, right? Like, be happy in success, be happy with whatever comes out of a song being good, but like, also, what can we do to make everything better, right?
I agree. Yeah, and I think you guys are doing that really well, and that's one of the reasons like I'm really excited for like the like horizon of what's going on with you guys. Because like one thing is like, you know, this is dangerous for me to say, because without deathcore I don't have a job. You know, which is funny because I don't even do deathcore, but it's just, I don't know, it's how things have worked out. But like,
yeah,
I feel like as awesome of a genre as deathcore is, especially vocally, I feel like, and maybe I'm a bit jaded because through my job, I listen to a lot of it. It can kind of wash together after a certain point.
Sure.
And I think that some of the best metal bands right now are deathcore bands, but I feel like kind of underneath that, sometimes it can feel like certain deathcore acts are writing for the genre versus writing for the composition, for the compositional element.
Very true.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, I don't feel like that with you guys, especially with this song. Because like, yeah, it's a deathcore song, but it doesn't sound like it was written to be a deathcore song. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was written to be a song.
Yeah.
To put it simply, I want it to, I like for it to be appreciated as a song that is good because its flow makes sense and the parts make sense and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, like we are, you know, first and foremost a deathcore band, but I never want to pigeonhole ourselves either. You know, like that's why I do clean vocals and different kind of stuff in terms of, you know, arrangement, is because I don't ever want to close a door to something, you know?
It's
like
smart.
I always want to keep my toe in all the waters.
You got a lot of toes, man. Goodness gracious.
I know. Lots of them, baby.
Well, let's go ahead. Let's wrap it up. This has been a fun one. We just passed an hour. It'll be less than an hour after editing. But go ahead and, you know, for anybody who hasn't seen our last video, or maybe they're just discovering Carcosa, go ahead and plug. Well, you can plug Carcosa, you can plug Angel, you can plug whatever you want, man. Where can people find you and the music that you do?
You can find me and all of the wild shit that I do, which is a smorgasbord of a bunch of stuff, not just screaming. I do a lot of clean singing, a lot of covers, a lot of that kind of stuff. I'm on Instagram at Johnny Got Graham. I'm on TikTok under the same handle, Johnny Got Graham. My YouTube channel is just my name, Johnny Ciardullo. Carcosa, you can find us at Carcosa BC. Angel Maker is Angel Maker Music. That's my guitar stuff. Yeah, and if you want any of our merch, we have, you know, a new Nihilus drop that came out for this song specifically. You can go to www.carcosabc.com and grab whatever the hell you want. We will be having a new song coming out soon, so keep your eyes and ears out for that. And I think by the time this video will come out, I am also dropping a live vocal performance of this song, as I've been doing for all of the songs. So you can watch this video and then you can go watch that video and just see all the things that I did wrong.
Doubtful.
But,
yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, man. Well, thank you for bringing, and I can attest to the merch. This is gonna be funny, and I'm totally telling the truth about this. My Angel Maker beanie, oftentimes, so I like to sleep with like a really aggressive fan. That's just kind of how I sleep. But then it makes my forehead cold, so it's very frequent that it's the only beanie I really own. Well, I have two others, but they don't fit as well. So I actually sometimes will sleep in my Angel Maker beanie to keep like my head from getting too cold. It's so comfortable, you can sleep in it, folks.
That makes my heart warm.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Makes my head warm. All right. Well, thanks for being on the channel, man. Always a pleasure to hang out and talk music with you. Again, if you enjoyed the content, like, share, and subscribe. You know how all this goes. Check us out on Patreon. But more than anything, I appreciate all of you clicking on the video and watching it and spending that time with us. And as always, many thanks. Much love. I'm out. What's up, good people of the internet? Mark with Kardavox Academy here, and today we're doing something cool. I say that all the time because we're always doing cool stuff here on the channel. See how that works? We are going to be checking out Carcosa, Nihilus. I just want to know how you all pronounce it in the chat or in the